Thank you. All right, I want to start out by asking a question. How many, just so I can kind of gauge and tailor my presentation to the audience. So how many of you are still operating in the business on a day-to-day basis? Okay, and how many of you would like to have the ability to take a month off in the middle of June like Peter did? Yeah, I would assume so. So I have had a lot of experience in this industry. I'll share a little bit of my background. I started out my professional career as an implementer for document data management and workflow systems in high security type of businesses, in military installations. And when I got my fill of that, I thought, you know what, I'll get into real estate and property management because that seems like it's easier. And it's very much the same. And you have to get really clear on your policies and your processes. And so we're going to talk a little bit about our policies and getting started. So let's see. Okay, so we're going to talk about preparing the groundwork. You're going to hear a lot of speakers over the next few days talk about how to build out your systems, how to build out your processes. I'm going to back up a little bit, and I'm going to talk a little bit about one of my sweet spots, one of my specialties. I do a lot of consulting in the industry, and one of the things that I talk about a lot is we help businesses build championship teams so that you, as the property management entrepreneur, can step off of the field and run your team from the sidelines. So I want to talk about what it takes to do that. We're going to stop talking just momentarily about the processes, and we're going to talk a little bit more about policy. I consider the policy of your company the rules of what it takes to win the game as you define it. Okay? Now, if we were all playing in the NFL, if we all were operating or running an NFL team, we would look at what are the rules of the NFL? How do we win that? The good news is we're not operating in the NFL. We're operating our own companies. So we get to define what it means to win. I know there are some companies here that are really focused on scaling and growing and maximizing their profitability per door. There are some companies that are focused on growing doors as much as possible. There are some companies that are focused on, hey, I want to be able to go home at night. Like, I don't want to have to work every day, all day. I don't want to get calls on the weekends. I want to be able to take what I do, what I'm good at, and share that with the rest of my team. So we're going to break it down, and we're going to talk about preparing the rules of the game and not necessarily the processes, which I would consider the plays that you give to your team and each member on your team in order to execute and help you win the game. So we're going to talk about the 5 stages of property management. Now, in property management, you don't have to believe me, but I want you to buy into this for just this presentation. I figure that there are probably 3 static phases that you go through when you take something through a life cycle in property management. Everything starts out as a prospect. Now I know, Jeremy, you're gonna have some feedback about what's a prospect, what's not. And we'll go through, qualifying, and people are either going to go through our stage or they're going to be eliminated from it. But I just want you to simplify it for a minute, and I want you to just look at everything in our system starts out in the prospect phase. Once we decide to do business with them in any capacity, they go into our active phase. Okay? And then once we go from our active phase and we're no longer doing business with them, it's pretty simple. They go into the closed or archived phase. So those are pretty simple, and it's pretty easy to figure out if somebody's sitting in the prospect phase and they just stay there for a long time, whether it's an owner, a tenant, a vendor, a team member, it's pretty easy to figure out what we need to do to facilitate that. And then once they're in the active stage, a landlord doesn't call us every day. A tenant doesn't call us every day. There are certain triggers that make us take action. But for the most part, once they're in that active phase, it becomes a lot easier to work with them. And then when we close them out, the closed or archived phase, there's not a lot that goes in there, but it's basically the termination point of what we're doing when we're putting together our policies. So in order to get from these 3 static phases, we have 2 transitional phases. And this is where a lot of the mess happens in our businesses. It's going from one phase to the next. It's going from, hey, this prospect, whether it's a tenant or a landlord or a vendor, they want to do business with us. And so all of a sudden we have to trigger a process to bring them into our business or into our system. And that's where things can sometimes get messy. I like to try to figure out how to make my transitional phase, onboarding, as quick as possible. I don't like to leave people in the transitional phases. I want to get them from one static phase to the next because expectations are easier to set. They're easier to meet when they're in one of the static phases. It's more difficult to meet expectations or communicate expectations when they're in this transitional phase. So to get from being a prospect, they're going to go through onboarding, and then when they're finished onboarding, they're going to be in our active stage. So I guess you guys could probably assume what happens next. They can live in our active stage for years. They can stay there. We can manage a property for 10 years. An owner can decide to sell it. Well, what happens when they decide to sell? They move through that termination phase. And you can have a great relationship with a landlord or with one of your clients for 10 years. And all of a sudden, it's time to terminate that relationship. They want to sell it. They're going to move back into it. Family's going to take over. You've made it look so easy to manage that property that they can do it themselves because how hard was it? You didn't even bother them for 10 years, right? So there's a lot of things that can go wrong in these transitional phases, and there's a lot of policies you want to set up. So taking it back to my analogy of building a championship team, I want to bring up something that Peter said about building your common process, right? It's hard to build a common process of what happens 80% of the time if the team doesn't understand what they should be doing the other 20%. So we want to get really clear as business owners on what our policies are. And as a business owner, we should own those policies, okay? Again, for you, the owner of the business, the one that's deciding what the rules are and how we win this game, we want to put into place what those policies are, and then we're going to ask our team to help us document what the processes are. So we're going to take this 5 stages and we're going to apply it now to these categories. So we're going to start and talk about landlords and properties. And when I'm documenting my policies, I group those. There's typically, if you notice, there's typically a person and a thing in here. Because sometimes you'll onboard a landlord and they'll have multiple properties. Sometimes you'll add a tenant to a lease, and then you'll have to add another tenant to that lease. So we're going to start and we're going to talk about these 4 categories. We've got landlords and properties, and then we have tenants and leases. And then we have vendors and maintenance. And we have company and team. And if you can figure out how to take those 4 categories and break them down and then apply the 5 stages of the life cycle, it helps you start to figure out, what do I want our company to do in order to win this game of property management? Okay? So where do we start? We're going to start first with our purpose. I've heard, I think for me, one of the most overused word or phrases in 2023, and one of the most misunderstood phrases in 2023 was process automation. I think a lot of people were throwing that word around without really understanding the consequences of what it means to automate your processes without really having a clear understanding of what you're actually trying to achieve. And so we would start automating this process, and we would start automating this process, and we would make it too complicated. And these things that should be clear about the goals that we're trying to achieve with each process, they start to become intermingled, and we start to have a spaghetti mess, and we start to document, well, we've got this policy here, but that policy is actually stated differently in a different process because we didn't have the two teams talking or the two people that built those out talking. And so we've got different understanding of what the rules look like to win. So where do we start? We start with the purpose. Every process that you roll out or everything you do in your company, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to write a paragraph for each one, but you need to start thinking about what is the purpose of these actions that we're taking, okay? Then the next step that we need to take is to look at the people that are involved. Who are the stakeholders, right? And as you're creating these things, we start with the purpose, then we go to the people, and then we talk about the policy, okay? So where is the company policy that we want to adhere to? And then our fourth step is, what actions do we need to take to uphold the company policy? And I firmly believe that if the internet went down for a short time, and we trained our team on what our company policies are, the rules to win, I want to hire people on my team. I talk about building a championship team. I want to hire champions on my team that know how to run their position. I don't want to hire box checkers or button pushers. I want to hire people that understand this is how we run the game. These are the processes that we run, and I understand why we run them. And now we have a situation that's outside of that. I have a situation that doesn't quite meet the 80%. I can refer back to our policy and see, does my actions that I want to take uphold our policies? I firmly believe that every process that we have needs to point back to supporting the policies that we have in place. And if we don't have policies in place, then our team doesn't understand what they're supposed to do if the train starts to go off the tracks a little bit one way or the other. So I put together a document that's kind of a cheat sheet. If you guys want to download that, if you click that, you can put in your name and email address, and it'll send you a PDF. It'll also allow you to make a copy of a Google Sheet. We've identified over 500 policies that you can evaluate whether or not those make sense for your company. So I'm going to leave that up there, but we are running a little bit ahead of schedule, I think, right? So I can either take questions or I can hand the mic over to you. It's up to you. Okay. Well, they're saying it works and some aren't, so it could be the angle. I'll take a picture of it, and you can find me and scan it off my phone later. How's that? It's pmsuccess.com, I think, /LSU for Lead Simple University. Okay? And I think to really get the most use out of it, go ahead and click Make a Copy, and that'll allow you to create your own Google copy of a Google Doc, and then you can edit it from there. But that'll help you set this up. So, any questions before I wrap up? All right, well, that's my time. Thank you.